2023 has probably been the best year for gaming so far. Banger after banger has been released, and we're still a little more than only halfway through the year. Complex puzzles, spine-chilling horror, and intense action, we've been blessed with a plethora of games to choose from. What should you start with? Well, this is why we're giving you Game8's top 10 games in 2023. So far, this list kicks off with a massive shadow drop at the start of the year. Coming to take the number 10 spot, Hi-Fi Rush. This game puts the beat in beat 'em up with its unique take on the popular genre. Here, you're incentivized to perform actions to the beat to acquire certain bonuses, like a higher score. And since the game relies on rhythm so much, having a great soundtrack to focus on is a must. Luckily, Hi-Fi Rush delivers. Enjoy the awesome soundtrack matched with interesting and fresh visuals for that mix of musical synesthesia. The game isn't perfect. The jumping distance and controls for the platforming sections are hard to gauge. There's a lack of level select screen, and most of the bonus content are only playable after finishing the game. And at that point, the gameplay already feels stale since there's a lack of variety. But despite these issues, Hi-Fi Rush still manages to shine through with its unique charm of looking like a Saturday morning cartoon. Beats that are hard not to bob to, and its band of likable characters. This compelling hack-and-slash rhythm game will guarantee you'll get your money's worth. Next, we have the return of the Wizard Kings in Age of Wonders 4. Feel what it's like to be a god among men and command your army in this game. There are limitless possibilities and infinite replayability as you mix and match all the different options. You can customize an insane number of options, from simply being tougher to kill, being more accurate with your hits, up to changing how your mounts look from horses to unicorns and being more resistant to debuffs. Age of Wonders 4 is surely a game you should be playing if your brain is itching for some in-depth strategy and tactics. Limitless possibilities often lead to game-breaking exploits and unfair tactics that can take the fun out of the game. However, Age of Wonders 4 is still able to pull through with how deep and expansive it is. Make any and every battle story how you want it to be against AI that is fairly competent. Fans of 4X games will likely enjoy this, as would fans of the Total War series. Safe to say, if you're into depth and strategy, Age of Wonders 4 is an absolute must-play. Re-experience the USG Ishimura through the fidelity of modern technological capabilities. Go through the intense horrors of the original Dead Space, now with visuals that are as scary as how we imagined it back then. They've taken what made the game great and expanded the game into new and terrifying heights. You might ask yourself, did this game really need a remake? But once you experience the mounting paranoia and extreme claustrophobia that has been heightened by modern-day sensibilities, you'll easily forget why you asked yourself that question. Instead, you'll be too busy looking over your shoulder, wondering if the game is just messing with you, or if there's a necromorph there, ready to feast. Whether you're a veteran of the series or a new engineer just boarding the ship, don't miss out on the Dead Space remake. In time, you will know the fortunate extent of this game's successes. Face off against the abomination and horrors of the world as you try to cull the spread of corruption. A visual marvel that emphasizes the grittiness and unforgiving nature matched with a creepy soundtrack. Fans of the first Darkest Dungeons might not have expected that the sequel would sacrifice a bit of variety and complexity in its gameplay in favor of narrative depth. This sacrifice, however, lowers the difficulty of the game, making it a little more accessible to a wider audience. It's still really a difficult game, but if you can get over the unforgiving learning curve of the game and the tedium of the grind, you will find yourself playing multiple playthroughs for hours. Considering the game costs less than an average game nowadays, it's a hell of a deal that can't be missed. Street Fighter 6 is the 6th game on our list, not of the series. There's way more than just 6 games in the series. Regardless, Street Fighter 6 welcomes both veterans and newcomers alike in this content-rich entry into the series. The game easily surpasses Street Fighter 5 in almost every aspect by a mile. There are its issues. The game has been hit with the curse of being a live service and certain game modes like World Tour being poorly optimized. The inclusion of more casual game modes, an extensive open-world single-player experience, modernized controls that lower the barrier for entry, there is something for everyone in this Street Fighter game, so get yourself a copy and
hit the streets!
Make a terrifying return to Citadel Station with this faithful remake of System Shock. Taking our number 5 spot, whether or not you're a fan of the original, this game is still worth giving a go. Experience this pioneer of the immersive sim genre where you try to survive inside a space station filled with dangerous creatures and a rogue AI. While the style can be incredibly polarizing, it is still very high fidelity. Experiencing the crunchy low poly look of System Shock's distinctive design is something horror fans should not miss. Once you've played it through, let us know how you feel about that ending. Hit that subscribe button while you're at it as well. Set in the world of Alistia, Final Fantasy XVI follows the story of Clive Rossfield in his journey for revenge. Albeit very divisive within the fandom, especially if you are a Final Fantasy purist, Final Fantasy XVI is still a good step in the direction for the series. Breathtaking set pieces, a glorious, mostly orchestral soundtrack, and fast-paced, exciting, engaging gameplay will keep you on the edge of your seat. FF16 is something you should definitely try, especially if you are a fan of other action titles like Devil May Cry. If you're only a fan of the old Final Fantasy titles, however, and prefer the classic turn-based combat, FF16 might serve better as your gateway to more action-oriented gameplay, because despite its action-oriented pivot, it still preserves the heart of what makes a Final Fantasy game Final Fantasy. Here to usurp the crown from its predecessors for the best title in the series, it's Diablo 4 at number 3. The game comes with an excellent blend of both visual and auditory direction, complete with its well-designed combat system that will keep you playing for hours. Of course, the game isn't for everyone. Replaying dungeons and fighting side bosses could become boring and repetitive if you do it enough times. This is especially true since the bosses aren't as engaging. Utilizing the cookie cutter, go here to dodge the attack, now you're free to deal damage, rinse and repeat. It can be a bit tiring after the 20th clear, but even for those who don't love that mechanic, the game does a great job of making you want to get stronger and making you want to play more. The polish present in the gameplay, combat, and exploration, with special focus on the story and world building, makes every penny spent on the game all the more worth it. In the age of remakes, when every developer is just checking their catalog to find something to reheat and reserve to players all over again, Capcom stands out in 2023 with Resident Evil 4 Remake. The remake is done right, being heavily influenced by the original while including surprises to keep the game fresh. Capcom's attempts to cut content from the original make this only a mostly faithful remake, but despite this, Capcom properly maintains the core feeling of the game while changing the outer shell. Even longtime fans of the original can find themselves enjoying and having a novel time. Unsurprisingly, the number 1 game on this list is The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Along with Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom is a game that any Nintendo Switch owner should have a copy of as a staple. The game features the breathtaking world of Hyrule to explore, now updated from its prequel to include the skies and the underground, making it feel bigger than ever. The world is littered with tons of collectibles to find, including callbacks to previous titles. There are also lots of side quests to finish, and although they have little bearing on the main story, they breathe further life and insight into the Kingdom of Hyrule. Although the sheer number of side content available may distract you from the fact the main story could be longer, it's the new abilities introduced in Tears of the Kingdom that elevate the game to the next level. The powers Fuse, Ultra Hand, Ascend, Recall, and Auto Build truly allow you to let your imagination run wild. Express yourself and save the world any way you want, using your creations made with your newfound abilities. The year ahead of us has still a few months left, and while it already feels like the golden year for gaming, there are still more games to look forward to. This means that all of us are eating good. What game are you looking forward to this year? What game do you think deserves to be on the list? Let us know in the comments below. Who knows, it might be included in another list by the end of the year. See you at the next one.